What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone had a great Christmas. Had a quick little how's it going, everybody? Hail Jabronis. Welcome to another segment of Dark Horse Discourse. I was out for our friend Patrick Quinlan, who came in at I don't know, it was like 2,300 in just a stream, and he ended up doubling in just 100, which is incredible. So I was really happy to see him hit his goal and beyond. So that was great. Glad that we were able to, yeah. So today we'll get back to kind of a more and got a lot of different topics. I'd like to cover different topics and yeah. So let's see who is in the chat. I apologize if that's the case, but so. All right. Well, first I want to start out. Got a couple great items here to show. So let's hit one, which would be an indie comic. It is by our friend Richard Hombre. I call him Richard Hombre. It's his first indie fun read. This is a short and sweet comic. It was only a five out of it. Honestly, I would have picked it up for 10 or for 50-ish pages, but really good, fun art. It definitely helped relay the entire coloring job that they had on this, and yeah, just a fun story. Again, it's like two partners seeking out an adventure, just really witty humor throughout the story, which I really enjoyed, and some good action, especially towards the end there, when they're basically uncovering the mystery behind the adventure. But really, really fun book. Um, as you can see here, like I was talking about, just really clean colors, some really good art, some interesting characters. Of course, Mango, the animal there, or animal slash human, was a really fun character. So definitely excited to pick up the second book, which is funding right now on Fund My Comic. So definitely recommend folks go and check that out. And I think he's almost to $3,000, really close. So yeah, definitely help him get over that mark there. The second item I want to recommend, which is actually a mainstream film, would be Oppenheimer. So Oppenheimer was a really, really fantastic movie. When they first announced that Nolan was doing Oppenheimer, I wasn't extremely excited about the fact that it was basically an Oppenheimer documentary. Didn't seem like a super exciting story, but he definitely proved me wrong and basically proved to me that anything he does, um, I should be 100% excited about and trying to get as many people to watch it as possible because he's proved time and time again that he is just, in my opinion, the best director out there at the time or at the moment. Just absolutely phenomenal director and one of the few directors, right, that can wri- write phenomenal stories as well. And so, you know, the thing about this movie is, again, it's a rated R documentary, and you wouldn't expect it to be exciting or thrilling, but if you know much about World War II history and about Oppenheimer, the person, the scientist, that was a very tense period in time, with basically the nuclear arms race and the way that he was able to really meld some really intense music with the tense dialogue that was occurring at the time, and the scenario that was at hand was amazing. I mean, the music was breathtaking, and the visuals were unbelievable as well. And the one thing that's really cool about about Nolan is that he's not a fan of using CGI. He practically doesn't use any CGI, I believe. And so he relies on a lot of props and using real explosions. Like he actually did a real like explosion to show what a nuclear blast would look like essentially. And so he's a guy that just goes absolutely all out. I wish there were more directors and writers that would operate the way that he does. And they just announced that they're going to be doing his next film is going to be The Odyssey. So that's obviously going to have some more fantasy elements to it, which is really exciting. So I guess slightly disappointed with the funding that it had at the time. So I was definitely in need of some escapism, and so went and saw this at 11 o'clock at night. Unfortunately, didn't get to do IMAX, but people would have expected, oh, it's going to be slow, going to be a bit boring. Man, as soon as I got into that theater, like I was enthralled. This movie kept me engaged, and it was just absolutely amazing. And I ended up I think it was a 3-hour film at least. And so I yeah, left the movie theater at 2 o'clock, just wide awake, super energized, like ready the next day to just keep promoting, keep pushing on with the campaign. And it gave me a lot of ideas as well for my future comic and novels as well. Like it was a really, really inspirational film. And it's not what you would expect at all. So highly, highly recommend that film. The next item I'm going to recommend is a TV show called Grimm. I was aware of this show for quite some years, but I was always a huge Supernatural fan, and so I was always stuck on that series. And I ended up rewatching that series recently with my wife, and yeah, just really, really enjoyed Supernatural. And so um, I never watched Grimm just because I thought, oh, it's probably going to be kind of a copy of Supernatural or too similar. Well, ended up watching some of this last night with my wife, probably like the first 4 episodes, and was very, very impressed by it. It's definitely a different twist on the Supernatural and obviously the Brothers Grimm stories than expected. But very, very good cast, very fun and funny show so far, on top of some really cool supernatural elements. So definitely would recommend folks check this show out. I think there's 6 seasons, so definitely excited to see what's going to be coming with that. Got some more people in the chat, so let's say hi to John A. Douglas. What's going on, man? Thanks for stopping by. Also have Michelle Bowers. How's it going? Welcome. And then, yeah, John said that he had missed this flick. Didn't watch a whole lot of movies this year, to be honest. Yeah, when you got kids and stuff, you're working. It's extremely hard. I mean, there's not as many good films to see these days in the theaters, honestly. But yeah, there's always a couple that really stand out, and this one was the best film in 2023 for me. But yeah, luckily folks can rent it and all that now, so definitely check it out. And then Andrew Campbell, what's happening, pimps? Welcome. How's it going? All right. So let's get into our next topic. So I guess this could constitute as a candidate for my weekly rant. So yeah, let's get into it. internet's so bad it might not even play the video. So, all right. So, the one of the hot topics on Twitter recently has been the whole H-1B visa topic. I believe that kicked off with a from a tweet by Vivek. Obviously he was running for president, and now he's involved in Trump's, I guess, team coming up here with the whole Doge group with Elon. But he kicked it off, I believe, and then of course, Elon had made a quote tweet or a response to this that really upset a lot of people, especially conservatives. And so, pull this tweet up here. All right. So this was a pretty hefty tweet here. So again, H-1B visas, these are essentially visas for foreign workers, and they're quite prevalent in the United States. They are not for like the top 1% in a field. They are not for, they're not, it's not a genius visa, as some call it. So they're pretty much for any jobs that folks could have in the United States. But a lot of people believe they are specifically for like the top percent or for, highly technical jobs. All right. And so here's what Vivek says. He says the reason top tech companies often hire foreign born first generation engineers over native quotation marks Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficiency, like a lazy or wrong explanation in quick or commas there, um, or parentheses. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we were really serious about fixing the problem, we would have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for far too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity. And their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. Ugh. More normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy, normalcy is what you'll achieve. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s or even now who raised their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut it in hyper competitive global market or for technical talent. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. Ooh, yeah, China, the spooky ghost. This can be our Sputnik moment. We're awake. We've awakened from slumber before, and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden age in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us. Rather than the wallowing in victimhood and just wishing for or legislating alternative hiring practices into existence, I'm confident we can do it. Well, that was an exhaustive tweet. And that spurred off a lot of tweets and comments in regards to the H-1B visas. Now, there seems to be a lot of resentment, in my opinion, in this tweet against athletes and I guess popular people in high school. What's ironic about this is that there's actually a lot of athletic folks that were also nerds and even valedictorians. In fact, a kid I went to school with who is a genius and now a millionaire and has had some inventions is an engineer, was a stellar hockey player. He also watched TV. He also played a lot of video games. We had LAN parties, local area network parties where we would just game for hours and hours. So, to say that he shouldn't have played those video games, he shouldn't have played hockey, and he should have just stayed at home, been sheltered, and had a much more, I guess, strict childhood is silly. And if anything, that may have pushed him in the opposite direction, right? We see that happen where kids that have too strict of a childhood, they'll rebel, and because of that, they end up making some bad life choices, etc. So, yeah, that was a very odd way to phrase things instead of just saying, "Hey, maybe we should try to trim the fat when it comes to education." Right? Maybe we need to introduce high schoolers and middle schoolers to engineering more. Um, Try to get them excited about different fields in college. Maybe stop forcing them to take classes in college, like, ironically, creative writing or music history or gender studies or whatever. The first 2 years of classes are essentially a complete waste of time. I went for accounting and finance. They forced me to take pre-calc and calc at my college. Those are needed for engineering. You will never, ever use them in accounting or finance, ever. But the college wants their money. And so if they were to actually make education more efficient and try to find ways to get kids more excited about different fields and specifically STEM and also make it more accessible and all of that, that's probably going to spur kids' interest over just saying, "Oh, don't have sleepovers and less time watching TV." Like, again, all things in moderation, right? Uh, a lot of the kids that I mean, right? We're primarily talking about comics and the creative space. Well, a lot of these comic book creators and artists, if they wouldn't have watched those Saturday morning cartoons, if they wouldn't have spent time reading those comics, they wouldn't have became successful creators, many of which made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, right? Had their properties or their creations turned into TV shows or movies. A lot of us are inspired even by TV shows and by reading things that may not, be connected to STEM and such. And then now let's get more into the H-1B thing, right? So when I worked on the in the West Coast, there were a lot of people working for large companies there on visas, a lot of foreign workers, and found it quite intriguing that that was happening because there's a lot of American engineers, accountants, you name it, looking for jobs and struggling to find jobs. And the way I look at things, we should not be importing workers unless there's an actual shortage or they have a unique ability that other Americans or that Americans don't have, right? It should be a last resort. Now, for the quote unquote like genius visa, right? The literal top 1%, that makes sense. Of course, you want to bring in the absolute top talent to try to improve technology, get an edge on other countries, all that. That makes sense. But it does not make sense for a like basic engineer, basic accountant, or any basically entry level job right out of college should go to an American first, in my opinion, because there are plenty of kids graduating each year with engineering degrees and accounting degrees and finance degrees. Um, they should get hired first, right? They've invested their money into the country, into these colleges, um, and they're the ones sitting on massive loans, most of them. Um, they should not have to go without work just because, in a lot of cases, these companies are hiring on this H-1B visa to save money. And to me, it's an exploitive method. They'll bring these folks in on these visas, and the only way they can stay here is on a visa. So essentially, these workers can be pushed to work crazy amounts of overtime on a salary that's lower than average, less than they would pay American, for example. And so they can make somebody work 60 plus hours so they can get the work, basically make 10 people work the amount that, 15 normally would in hours. But those workers aren't going to complain. They're going to keep doing it because they want to stay in the country. And I can't blame them, obviously, right? And I applaud how aggressive they are towards bettering their lives and all of that. But it's not right to kick the Americans or Native Americans, as he phrased it, to the curb in order to do that. And so a lot of these companies are saving millions of dollars by paying these folks 20, 30% less than they would an American. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. Uh, Horrible internet tonight. What happens when you live out in the middle of nowhere? Um, so, what they're doing essentially is saving millions of dollars at some of these large companies. They're hiring hundreds, if not thousands, of these workers at a salary that's 20 to 30% lower at times, and then having them work an extra 10, 20, 30 hours per week. Um, but this shouldn't come to a surprise to many of us, right? There's a lot of greedy companies out there that will take advantage of workers and do a lot of questionable things to save money. Um, but to me, that shouldn't be legal. Uh, and I got exposed to different countries and how their labor laws and all of that work. When I went to Russia, it wasn't as simple as just go work in the field I was working corporate wise. It was actually extremely difficult to get a corporate job there. Why? Because they have a law that they have to give jobs to native Russians before foreigners, unless they have a specific skill set that they can only find outside of Russia. So by law, they have to try to hire Russians first. But they have specific visas for like teachers, for example, right? Because it makes sense that they would want to hire or bring in native English speakers to teach English in the best manner possible versus someone that may have an accent or broken English, right? So that's how I got my visa into Russia was I got a job teaching English, but it still was a long process and it was difficult and it should be difficult, but I really admired that they had that law, right? They have to hire Russians before foreigners because they want to retain their own workers and they want to keep unemployment low, right? And we've seen there's been articles and studies saying that when some of these companies do massive layoffs, right? They'll say, "Oh, they're laying off or firing 20% of the workforce at a company." A lot of times, a lot of those are not the foreign workers. They're actually letting go of the American workers, keeping the ones that are on the H-1Bs, for example. And so there's just a lot of instances of stuff like that happening, and it's really, really bad for American culture, for America as a country. The other thing too is again how they can hire men on salary, push them to do crazy hours. I one thing I did appreciate in Germany was that they made you get a salary, but they would have to pay overtime. Once you hit certain amount of hours, like they really pushed for a work-life balance, and they tried to prevent companies from exploiting workers. And that's something that America's really got to catch up on culture-wise is that work-life balance. And the other thing is you'll see some of these elites and politicians say, "Oh, well, the birth rate is an issue, right?" Well, if you're pushing men to work crazy hours, good chance birth rate's going to go down. I mean, we've seen that with the Japanese culture where they're just working crazy hours and they're just not having kids. And, you know, inflation, the cost of things are going up at a higher and faster rate than wages. And so if folks basically have no choice but to work 50, 60 hours in order to provide for their family, well, that's what they're going to do. But they're also going to potentially get pushed into depression and even suicide because that's an issue in America. The pressure to be able to make enough money to support your family and stay above water essentially is a major issue throughout the country. And so promoting this culture of just overworking people is an issue. There needs to be laws to prevent that. If companies need workers to work basically free, beyond 40 hours, or they need to hire workers to work crazy hours at lower salaries, that means to me, A, it's a shit company. B, they are super inefficient and inadequate at what they're doing. And, where's all the money going that they're making if they need to do this? And so, yeah, I think it's a major issue. And, I to me, they need to potentially get rid of that visa program, revamp it. And again, it should only be for, top 1% geniuses, things of that nature, unless that company can prove that they cannot find an American within the country to take the job. It should be a last resort. So, yeah, that's the topic of H-1B. That has been a very annoying topic throughout Twitter. You're seeing all of these conservatives basically trying to kiss the ass of Elon and Vivek and all these people trying to agree with them. And it's like there's nothing conservative at all about saying, oh, people need to work insane hours and saying that Americans are inherently lazy or less smart. And, this whole, concept of less sleepovers and we shouldn't be applauding, jocks and this, that, and the other. And it's like, one thing that athletes do get is from let's say jocks, right? You have to work hard to be good in sports. It takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of effort. It's not all natural skill. Um, and even some of these book smart folks, right? They can struggle later in life because they've never been challenged in regards to going beyond the books. So yeah, quite the topic. All right, let's check in on the chat here. We have, oh yeah, we have Zombie Boy, welcome. And we have Mr. Patrick Quinlan himself. Hail. What's going on, man? And he says, 100% agree. There's a few useful classes that help towards the knowledge of the field you're trying to go into, but most of it's nonsense. in propaganda. Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge problem. All these classes that these colleges force you to take in order to get a degree. A lot of it could be trimmed down to basically a lot of these 4-year degrees should be a 2-year degree. A lot of the prerequisites should be killed. It's a joke. I mean, I had to take one semester of a language. One semester of a language is not going to make you fluent. It's not going to get you anywhere in life. It's a complete waste. I had to take a type of history class. I, of course, took the easiest class possible. Why? Because I was buried in calc, which was a nightmare. So I took music history or rock and roll history. Like, yeah, that's really applicable to business. I had to take creative writing. Basically, you're just reading a bunch of poetry. Was not applicable to my day job at all. Had to take a health science class. Again, not going to help me an accountant to be an accountant or get into finance. So complete waste. John said he just kind of went past all this, felt like noise that would eventually blow over. Like, yeah, that's you're lucky because yeah, it was frustrating again to see all these folks just I don't know, swaying with the wind, right? Just trying to get attention and defending some really really bad policies and some really really bad statements. All right, let's welcome the first troll of the night. So, you know what? It is good to have people that support you. Patrick did all the work himself. He wrote this comic, it came from him. He's the one that's busted his ass to make this comic come to life. And he busted his ass jumping from stream to stream, networking, and helping other people get funding as well, because that's what makes the indie community so great. And specifically, in this case, Comicsgate. When folks get together and work to get you exposure. All EBS did was give them a platform and get it in front of folks. It's completely up to them whether or not to take a chance on Patrick. Obviously, they thought the art looked great and the story was intriguing, and so he got basically $3,000 in funding in a night. He earned that. And all those people that backed him, well, they're going to read his book and they're going to determine if it was worth it and if they're going to fund the next campaign. So I'd say hold your thoughts and your nonsense until his next campaign to see if it does as well or if it does better. My guess is it's going to do better. So, but let's wait and see. I'm excited for this book. So we'll leave it at that. And Patrick himself, I'm not letting any of this nonsense get to me. Phenomenon exists because of my will and because I'm not a jerk too. Exactly. Yep. And see, that's why he had myself promoting him, EVS, and plenty of others promoting him because he's not a jerk. Because he's nice, he supports others, and I tell you, if you support others, there's a good chance they're going to support you back. And even if some don't, that's okay. At least you are not in it just for yourself, and that's what makes the indie community a community in many cases. Yeah, there's some that are in it just for themselves, but it's great when folks help each other get exposure because hey, we're the only ones that are going to help each other. Why? Because we don't have the mainstream, right? We don't have the luxury of a massive marketing department, legacy characters, blah blah blah. If it was 20, 30 years ago, sure, we all could have submitted to the big two, to all these publishers, and had a chance that our work would get judged based off of merit. We know that's not the case these days. But Patrick's getting judged based off his merit. That's how he acts, how he treats other people, and the content that he put on his campaign. And he hit his funding goal. So, congratulations. All right. So let's go ahead and go with that sentiment and let's do our promotion segment. I'm not going to bother hitting the video because, well, probably a good chance it's not going to work. So let's pull up our first campaign. And the troll's going to love this one. I mean, going to love it. I have a feeling. Let's see here. All right, speaking of EVS, we have Ultra Cyberfrog, warts and all oversized hardcover. He just hit six figures yesterday, which is pretty damn awesome. This collection of all of his comics from the 90s. It's over 500 pages. You can get it in a hardcover or a soft cover at very, very low prices. So I'm excited for this just to catch up on all of his original works, to be able to connect it, obviously, with all of his new crowdfunding campaigns from the past couple of years. So speaking of the prices here, you know, obviously there's like a get everything perk. He's got line art variants. He's got cars, like toy cars. He's got some cool figures here. But if you focus just on the soft cover and hardcover, I mean, 500 pages, soft cover, $30 is a fantastic price. I mean, that's killer. And then the hardcover for just 60 bucks. So definitely a great option for folks that would like to get caught up and see how Cyberfrog came to be, essentially. And yeah, this is also oversized as well. 80 pounds, gloss coated, perfect bound. So yeah, this is definitely not anything cheaply made, but nothing he makes is cheaply made, obviously. So yeah, there's even a trading card binder and all that. So definitely, if you want to pick up some work from a pro with a lot of pages and some really intriguing characters and a really cool storyline, I mean, obviously, just the idea of a cyberfrog is really damn cool, especially if you're a fan of some of the 90s properties out there in video games. So definitely go check that out. And I'd like to promote a larger campaign, larger creator every week, as well as smaller creators as well. And EVS also promotes smaller creators, which is very admirable and appreciated. All right, on to the next one. Next one is going to be Sherlock Holmes Leviathan by Mr. Mike Barron. Pretty sure most people know who Mike is. Well known for his Punisher books, a very esteemed writer, and also just an overall really cool dude. Another guy who is, you know, out there helping promote others. He shares a lot of folks' campaigns on Twitter, which is really appreciated, because obviously he has a really big reach, and it's awesome to see these folks that have a really large reach helping folks out that are on every level. But this looks like a really great graphic novel. Obviously, having the Sherlock Holmes property in there is really interesting, but it's tying in a lot of like kind of Jules Verne-esque concepts. So yeah, just looks like a really great book. And if it's a Mike Barron book, it's going to have some great writing. The art looks really great as well. Looks like that's by Richard Bonk, who's done Superman, Teen Titans, Witchblade. And so yeah, definitely looks like a great campaign here. And I believe it's closing out here pretty soon, about 5 days. He's just looking to get another about $3,000 on the Indiegogo here. So it'd be great to get this funded. Looks like it's 66 pages, full color, premium print. And you can check out some of the artwork here. But yeah, I mean, Mike's a two-time Eisner Award and Inkpot Award winner. Yeah, and he also did some flash work as well. And then I recently got his Private American, his Bronze Star, as well as a couple of his Nexus books. So I'm going to be checking those out here really, really soon. So excited to check out some more of his recent work. So yeah, go check this out. and let's get this funded, right? And then the next one, so we're going to check out a smaller creator here. And this is another guy who constantly has folks on his streams. He's constantly retweeting people. Just a great example, again, in the community. And yeah, I've been on his channel a couple times. He's another fellow Snyder bro, as some people like to call us, but lover of his work. So we've had a lot of fun chats about his movies as well as Ayn Rand books. He's a huge fan of Ayn Rand. So we have Godfoe Universe here with his latest. It's actually two gentlemen, um, but Godfoe Universe on Twitter. Let me get this pulled up here. All right. Apollyon 20XX, Volume 2, Lest We Forget. So this is a graphic novel, and these guys, they always have their books done before they even run the campaign. So really quick turnaround in terms of fulfillment. And there's a lot of catch-up items here. They have digital options as well as very affordable printed options here, like $15. I believe this is 100 plus pages. And then, yeah, like I said, a lot of catch-up books here with, like, there's three other products here that you can get as well. Which, I mean, four books here for $50, which is a fantastic price. So, give a little bit of a synopsis on this. So, a powerful group of elites known as the Order have manipulated world events for centuries from the shadows. Now, in the near future, this order has created God, or God, a machine capable of influencing the minds of the world's population. But Zero, the prime candidate for the God Project, has escaped and rallied with him a small band of young, like minded augments. Together, they seek to end the order before God can be completed and the world is brought to its knees. So, yeah, these two guys, they write and do all of the illustrations themselves. So, it's a two-man team. This specific book, they have a black and white version here, some really unique and intriguing artwork. But yeah, these guys are just cranking out books throughout the year. Very cool looking properties. So definitely go check these guys out. They also have a Kickstarter too, if you would prefer to back it on there. And then yeah, here's some of the catch-up books here. So you can see, got some really cool covers and artwork here. Got some cool add-ons here. But definitely digging the black and white art. I am a sucker for black and white versions. That's why I did it on my campaign. I'll always do in the future. Absolutely love black and white art. They also have a manga size full color for this Kolga or Biophile Kolga Volume 1 as one of the catch up items. So, yeah, go check this campaign out. It's also in the description. But yeah, great creators that support other creators, constantly promoting. So, definitely good to help them out. All right. Other topic I want to talk about is indie agitators. So, obviously, there's always drama when it comes to the indie space. Um, there's always, I guess, what people call infighting and all of that. But uh, what will never cease, it never ceases to amaze you. On Christmas, there were folks attacking other indie creators out of the blue on Christmas and Christmas Eve. Like, literally, some of these folks have nothing better to do. And in many cases, these agitators aren't even creators. They're just scorned backers or fans that kind of have made it their mission to bring down some of the larger creators because they don't run their campaigns the way they would like, or they don't like their narratives, how they speak, how they act, whatever. But instead of simply just stopping, you know, supporting them, not backing them, they spend their days on Twitter, on YouTube, just trying to make them lose backers. And then they extend it on to anyone that supports said creators or associates with them, streams with them. So, huge pushers of guilt by association. They believe if they attack these smaller creators, that they'll somehow damage the larger creator, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to hurt you through them, which is nonsense, obviously. And they do scare some creators away by putting this guilt by association pressure on them. But what's really sad about it is a lot of folks on Twitter are oblivious to their ambitions and what they're trying to do. And speaking of the worst of the worst, student OG. That's funny. Yes, I've seen Trash Cast. But the thing is, a lot of folks don't understand why it came to fruition, the backstory behind that, and the fact that there's a lot of truth behind the humor in Trash Cast. And look, it's fine if folks don't enjoy it, they don't appreciate that style of humor or the way that PBS speaks. That's fine. And I understand if you're a fan of the folks that he criticized, he may not be your cup of tea. No problem. Don't watch. Don't support him. Right. But he's almost like a late night talk show, and it's quite funny to be quite honest, especially if you know the lore behind a lot of the stuffs. And it's like you speak of the agitators and they magically appear. Almost funny. And they even try to bring specific people up. Like, oh, let's compare these folks. And see, I didn't name any names. Why? Because there's so many of them. There's no point in doing that. But yeah, there are folks that are not creators that are literally just in it to make it difficult for other creators and agitate. Now, yeah, you can claim that EBS is an agitator. That's fair if that's your opinion. If you don't like who he's criticizing, but he also creates, he also promotes, he also supports other creators. So there is a balance. And this is something I've talked about in regards to complain tubers, right? Ones that will just complain about the mainstream all day long. They don't speak about the things that they love. They don't promote the good stuff that's actually out there by the mainstream, and they don't bother promoting indies, even though they know we exist and they know that we're actually providing what they say they are missing and what's not out there. There's no balance. It's all just negative, all complaining. And those are folks that I'm just not interested in and I'm not going to support. However, EVS does promote folks. He's promoting folks right now on his Kings panel. He promoted Patrick the other night. He's promoted tons of small creators and he is creating books. He's actually creating content outside of YouTube. If the YouTube stuff's not your cup of tea, that's fine. No problem. But there are folks that they just want to get attention and feel some sort of control or accomplishment over making things difficult for those larger creators and the smaller creators that are involved with them or associate with them. And what you'll see is they're going to take clips, obviously, of streams like they will do with this. They'll take it out of context or they'll make it all about one person, even if they're not mentioned, which happened on one of my previous streams. But it's not helping the indie community at all. If you want to counter what the creator you don't like is saying, then by all means, get on a stream, counter it, do it better. If you don't like how they're running a campaign, counter it, do it better. Run your own campaign. Anyone can create a comic. It's possible. So go out, do it better, make a better comic, run a better campaign, be more successful. Challenge yourselves. But instead, you just want to try to dissuade folks from supporting those that you don't like. And in doing so, you're actually preventing a lot of smaller creators from getting new backers. You're pulling backers away from them, and you're just trying to damage their names. And that's not something personally that I'm going to do. That's why I don't do negative reviews of small indie creators. Even if I'm not a fan of their book and I read it, I just don't see the value in that. I'm just simply not going to back their next book. Right? Let the indie market decide whether or not they're worth the support of everybody else. Um, so yeah, you had on Christmas, you had folks just out of the blue attacking creators. And I won't forget the one reply that or quote tweet that John Malin did. He just simply said, because he was obviously attacked by one of these agitators. He's just like, yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, I guess. Right? Because most of us didn't even pick up our phones or barely at all those 2 days, right? Because you typically are spending it with family or friends or something. Um, some of these folks just couldn't even like lay off for a day or two on the holidays. It's crazy. Um, but it's more unfortunate that backers and the audience, I guess, on Twitter don't realize what these folks are doing, what their intent is, and that a lot of us small creators are just getting stuck or kind of hit by the current of these agitators. So yeah, that was quite an interesting thing to witness. I mean, it seems like every year there's obviously more drama and issues amongst people on Twitter, but this year it really stuck out. So, but it's like I just can't imagine like that's how you want to spend your holidays, or that's what's on your mind is how can I insult this person or go after that person? Just absolutely wild. And obviously the other thing too that we've seen on a couple streams is a revamping of some anti-CG discourse. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I have no issue. Anyone doesn't want to be part of CG. I'll still support. I'll still promote folks that aren't in CG. I have no issue if folks quote unquote leave CG or whatever, don't want to associate with the hashtag and all of that. That's their choice. And plenty of folks have done that without trying to take other people down or, just, I guess, trying to throw knives in people's backs on the way out. And I respect that they just go whichever path they want to go. Like I said, still going to work with such people, still going to promote them. But there are some creators that uh, want to make a spectacle out of it, and then they'll go quiet, and then out of nowhere they come back and just keep rehashing the past and keep trying to create spectacles. And a lot of creators just get kind of stuck, in the middle of that. And it's again like if you don't want to be part of it, okay. But it's just like, shouldn't you be focused on what you're working on your creations? Um, it's like if you don't like a particular creator, like why constantly think about them? Why constantly talk about them? Unless they personally maybe did something to you, right? Which that's the case with Trash Cast. For those that obviously know the lore behind that and why that was started. But again, a lot of these folks aren't even creators. They just need some sort of sense of accomplishment when they try to take other creators down a peg, which is again really unfortunate. But and then there's folks that will say, "Oh yeah, I'm not part of CG," but they'll interact, they'll promote. That's awesome. And those are the people I'll get more respect. Like, I respect them more over time because they're able to interact with folks, even if they don't want to like consider themselves part of the group. Like, there's no reason not to support an indie unless you simply don't like their content or you don't like their actions and all that. Um, a good example would be, there are film creators where, like, let's say even film series, right, or properties like Star Wars and all that, right? I guess best example for me is Star Trek. I'm a huge Trekkie, absolutely love everything from, Star Trek Next Generation through Enterprise and even the films as well, of course. And absolutely love what Roddenberry did and his creative team there. Now, I'm not a fan of pretty much anything new Star Trek, right? When it comes to Discovery, Strange New Worlds, all of that. Picard was an exception. A lot of stuff I just had no interest in. I'll rarely talk about it. Why? Because I'd rather just go back and enjoy the fantastic Star Trek properties. I just can't imagine doing video after video or tweet after tweet, just hating on the stuff that I don't like. It's just not logical. It's just going to be frustrating. And again, I understand why some of the complaining tubers do it right because they get views, they get money. And that's a topic for another day. But that just seems like such a sad purpose to just spend all of your time doing that. And that's not something I'm going to do on any creative property, etc. So, and yeah, obviously on Trashcast, there's been some back and forth with some anti-CG folks and all that, and it's just a lot of them too. They see it as a window of opportunity, right? They think that they're going to garner interest and attention from other anti-CGers or from say Rippaverse or this group, any group that doesn't like that group, I'm going to go over there and try to get some backers. But I've noticed a lot of times it's because folks are losing backers, they're losing funding, and it's almost like a spiral where they're just like desperate to latch on to any group that might support them, but it's usually for the wrong reasons, right? It's not because their content is suddenly better or they're hitting this like great stride in marketing. Um, it's because they've kind of cornered themselves in the market and they think, oh, well, if I go against this group, maybe I can rally some troops that'll support me. But I haven't really seen any cases where doing that has gave any folks a surge in funding or surge in attention. So, I don't know, quite interesting. It'll be never ending. There's always going to be stuff like this happening. But recently, man, it's really been popping up, and it's been entertaining, but also it's just like, man, I wish these folks would just try to get along with other folks because you would end up getting a lot more support and promotion versus just going anti any group. And there's indies I'm not or indie creations I'm not a fan of, but at the same time, I'm not going to judge others that support that group or not support folks that support that group. It's nonsense. I'm going to go based off of that person's actions, how they treat others, first and foremost. All right, and yep, yeah, Zombie Boy agrees. Yeah, Trash Cast is funny. Ethan is an entertainer, just is. May not be everyone's cup of tea, but um, obviously it can be enjoyable for a lot of folks. That's why he gets an audience. Pop culture rocks. What up, BA? How's going on, man? Thank you for being here. Very cool. All right. Next thing I wanted to talk about was Twitter trash. This is a segment I would do with a little fun video, but yeah, with my internet being garbage tonight, I'm not going to do that. So seeing all the H-1B drama, it really annoyed me because it reminded me what Twitter's become, or X. I just call it Twitter. It just makes more sense at this point. Um, that you see some accounts that are just getting a ton of impressions, gaining a ton of followers and attention because big names have retweeted them, right? They've put them in the spotlight. And it's the new, I guess, money structure and how folks can get paid on Twitter, right? It's really incentivizing stupidity and hyperbole. You have folks that are spreading, I mean, straight up lies, disinformation, propaganda, as long as they get those impressions, they're getting paid for it. So do you think they're going to back off on such things that are not good for humanity, that are not good for the American people? No. Or it's just like the complaint culture. Whatever brings in money, they're going to continue to do it. Actually, they're going to ramp it up even more so because of that. And so, the other thing too is you're seeing folks that are taking other people's videos, other people's artwork, sharing it, not even giving them credit, and then they're making thousands of dollars from their tweets. And it's like, how is there not a vetting process or some sort of verification to make sure that that content is not filled with lies, deceit, or whatever, right? Fact checks essentially, and that what they're posting is actually theirs and that they have the permission to share that, right? It's tied into that AI discussion, right? Folks should not be making money off of other people's work if they don't have permission to do so. And you just see it all the time. I think there was even, one of the creators in our circle. He had someone had posted his artwork and gotten like hundreds of thousands of views. Didn't give him any credit, and he just like replies like, "Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you got all of this attention and that you're gonna make some money off of my artwork. And you didn't even thank me. You didn't even like give me credit." And it's absolutely crazy. People are blowing war information, current event information out of context. They're just pushing hyperbole because it gets them clicks, right? You're seeing people just make ridiculous videos just saying slurs over and over again. It's absolute garbage. People that are giving, there are really embarrassing Christianity, pushing this shit, and but they're getting paid. So on one hand, like, yeah, it's great that some folks can make money just like in YouTube, but it's unfortunate the rise in certain content, certain narratives, and just ridiculous content that is occurring because of that. And you're seeing a lot of shitty people getting a lot of attention and probably making a ton of money because of it. And it's not going to change anytime soon. It's just going to get worse and worse. And the algorithm is not helping anyone with good intentions, really. So, yeah, it's quite unfortunate. So yeah, that's my spiel on Twitter as it is today, or X. Um, let's go ahead and I'll pop up my campaign here for a couple minutes. I think I mentioned it in my first Dark Horse discourse that I'm going to be closing out the campaign at the end of February. So definitely trying to give this a final push here for the next 2 months. Would love to get this to at least 13.5K. If not, if I'm really, really lucky, would love to get this to 15K on Indiegogo. I'm going to be adding, probably next week, I'll be adding original art by Elliot Rodriguez, and that would be the art for the gargoyle print that everyone got, their physical backing, as well as the grimoire original art that's in the mini comic. So really excited to get that out there for folks to pick up. We also have the Skunk Artworks original art for the wraparound mini comic cover. Very large hand painted um, piece of art there that'll come in a frame. So yeah, please pick this up if you can. I don't know if these specific books will ever get printed again, or if I'll ever have a second chance campaign because of the cost of printing has went up astronomically in the last couple months. So these may not be available in the future. So would definitely like folks to take advantage of this while they can. And what's great about there being two novels and a total of 500 pages of prose essentially is this gives you a lot of content, and it allows you to dive really deeply into the story, into the lore, and into all the backstories for all the characters. And it's great filler material while you're waiting on campaigns, getting comics throughout the year. You can read this because there's always more content that needs to be consumed. So definitely consider this, and then this will get you warmed up and ready for the first comic issue, which will hopefully have a sign up page for here in a couple months. Every dollar that uh, goes into the funding here for this campaign goes directly into the first comic issue, which is now I have about 17 or 19 pages of the script done, and we'll be buttoning that up here in the next month. It's probably going to be around a 50-page comic or 48 pages. So obviously, the more I raise, the quicker I can get this done. The first comic issue, get it out to folks. I'd like to get most of the book, if not all of it, done before doing the campaign. So, um, yeah, this will definitely go towards a good cause and a fantastic comic that'll be coming your way. So, yeah, please check this out. All right, let's check in on the chat here. All right, went back and listened to what you said, and yeah, that's fair. Um, what also would be a good test is to see if he can do it next time without Ethan. I can't agree with that. And this is referencing Patrick's successful campaign that got closed out recently. And, Ethan had him on the channel and he raised about 20, 25 or $3,000 in a night. So that's the thing, right? In the indie community, it's all about reach. And most of us start with little to no reach and stay with little to no reach unless we get connected with folks that have reach. That's just the nature of the beast. Some folks just get lucky um, and they hit the algorithm properly, or they have some tweets or videos go viral or something. But really, in a lot of cases, it's about who you know and who's willing to support you. And I'd like to say, I hope next time he does it with Ethan. I hope he does it with Graham Nolan, with Aaron Lepresti, with everybody in the space. I hope everybody will support him. Everyone will have him on their channels. In the end, it's going to be up to those potential backers whether or not that campaign looks worthy and if they're willing to spend money on it. And then they'll be able to determine if that was worth it once they receive the book. I hope everybody gets a chance to get lifted up by a larger creator. Because who else is going to lift us up? It ain't going to be publishers, most likely, because we don't get a fair shake with them. So I hope all indies get more exposure, get more reach. I hope Twitter improves to where folks can get more exposure and the algorithm will be more friendly towards creative content. Same goes for YouTube. That's why I say I admire the large creators that will promote folks on every level, and I admire the small creators that will promote folks on every level. That's the only way that everyone's going to get lifted up. Well, you can't agree because you don't think he can do it without him. Wow, that's telling. We did 10K in a day without Ethan. What's stopping him? Well, Patrick's a brand new creator. I think he's been in the space for maybe a year or two. As far as I know, you guys have been doing it for what, like a decade or so? So that's a lot of time to build up your reach and to build up an email list and all that. So there's a lot of creators in CG that get 10K within a day. And a lot of them have some amazing looking books that are not baiting people in with nudity or boobs or this or that, right? And Patrick's book is a grassroots book with unique content, unique storytelling, and some really intriguing characters and story setting as well. So maybe he'll do it without Ethan next time. But like I said, I hope everybody gives him exposure. I hope everyone supports him. So he's earned it. He's connected with these folks. He's supported those folks. He's promoted those folks, and he's just getting it back. And you can't say it's all because of Ethan. It's because of the backers. It's because of the people that watch his show. Patrick just got in front of his audience. It's the audience that decided to back him. Okay. One year, then we released our book. Okay. I don't know if that one specifically did 10K in a day, but even if it did, even if it made 100K in a day, it doesn't mean the book's better. Doesn't mean it deserves more attention or more funding than Patrick or anybody else's comic. We've seen multi-million dollar campaigns and books that are worse than books that only raise 5,000 or 10,000. And we've seen five or $10,000 books that are not good, and they're much worse than the folks that are raising hundreds of thousands, if not millions. But I still hope that everyone gets exposure. It's the backers that are going to determine the quality of the content. Right? And here is Mr. Patrick. I will continue to support people and hope, not expect, that they will return the favor. All I can do is be entertaining and make the best work I can and hope the people like it. Exactly. He got his shot, and now folks are picking up his book, and they're going to determine if they should continue to support him. But irregardless, Patrick's going to continue to promote folks like myself and others, and it's because he promotes other people, because he treats people with respect in the community, that he got that chance on Ethan's show. He earned it. And I think if more people do the same actions that Patrick and myself have done, they will also get on his show, on other people's shows, and the backers will determine if those books are worthy of being backed. Yeah, why would you turn down help? Exactly. I mean, there's very, very few people that I would refuse to go on their show. I mean, if I know that they are just trying to give me exposure, they're actually trying to help, then of course I'm going to go on anybody's show. If I think it's a chance that they're going to try to corner me, trick me, troll me, yeah, then maybe I would turn it down. But why would you turn down a chance at showing your book to thousands and thousands of people on a stream that gets tens of thousands of views? It's just silly. You got to get yourself in front of an audience. That's what it's all about. That's what the grind is in indie comics, is connecting with people, it's networking, it's getting yourself in front of potential readers. And we're only getting in front of a tiny fraction. A tiny, because again, we're not connected to the mainstream. We don't have legacy characters. A lot of us are starting from the ground up, and we're small creators. Getting some lag. I apologize. Try to pull up some more comments here. Well, it won't pull up, but up here we go. I think Patrick has a solid book. I think he would have made more money on Kickstarter. It's hard to say. I mean, he still could put it on Kickstarter if you wanted, but if you think he has a solid book, then you should pick it up. I hope you're not picking it up just because he affiliates with a particular group, right? Or that he affiliates or he associates himself or hangs out with Ethan, because that again is the biggest disease on this community, is guilt by association. And hopefully you can, well, I mean, you don't even need to separate the creator from the content, because there's no reason to believe he's not a good person or worth backing other than nonsense of guilt by association. So I hope you picked it up. In regards to Kickstarter, it's hard to say. Yeah, there may be more people perusing for random comics on there. So maybe he would get some more backers specifically from that um, platform. But if I don't think he would have gotten any more backers from all of the streams that he did and all of the promotion that he did on Twitter. I don't think there's folks that are specifically only willing to back, like on Kickstarter, for example. I don't think that's a big thing. I have no people putting stuff on Kickstarter. I haven't done it myself. I've seen plenty of people put books on Kickstarter that also do not fund very highly either. So I don't think it's like a magic option by any means. And yeah, Robert is also saying, why would anyone reject help? Makes no sense. Success is about taking advantage of opportunities and making something of it, and hopefully making long lasting cooperations on shows and promotion. And see, that's the thing. They're taking advantage of opportunities with integrity, meaning they just want to get their book in front of folks. They want their stories to make an impact on other people, and they want to grow their business by simply showing that book and pitching it to people, right? Showing their passion to the audience, not by taking digs at other creators or acting like they aren't involved in drama when they really are, blah, blah, blah. We've seen a bunch of other marketing tactics and stuff that is a little, say, less moral and less high ground in regards to trying to take advantage of opportunities. All right. You really need to get some better internet, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I have the best internet you can get in my area. Just every once in a while, when there's high winds and stuff, it affects it. Is what it is. I'm actually paying quite a bit for my internet, so I can't pick it up, BA, because I don't read comics. hmm I would hope that's a troll because yeah, that's a ridiculous statement. Hmm. So how can you write a good comic then if you aren't influenced by other comics? I would definitely advise people to read as many comics as possible, whether that's legacy mainstream, current mainstream, big indie, small indie, so that you can learn from other people's mistakes and also learn from those that have done it phenomenally. And that's why I bring up creators like Alan Moore, Frank Miller, folks that have left their mark on the space. And so, yeah. Patrick says, I will always choose FMC because I know they won't remove my campaign due to ideological differences. I am not driven by money. And yeah, definitely applaud that. FMC is a great site, and I can understand why people don't want to risk being deplatformed on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, especially right if you are conservative or may have some viewpoints that are not popular with large corporations. So yeah, I can understand why you won't want to do Kickstarter then. And I myself, I use FMC as well, so my campaign's still up on there. So I wanted to give people the option between the two. With Indiegogo, just a lot of the backers historically use Indiegogo. It's convenient for them. And when I did the sign up, I don't even think FMC was launched yet. So I didn't want to basically switch at that moment. It just didn't make sense for me. So, but no, that's awesome, and it's great that he raised that much on FMC. So. It's easy. I read and collected between the ages of 8 and 17. I've read more than you probably. Okay, maybe you have. Doesn't mean you're a better writer than me, though. Patrick, Kickstarter won't remove you as long as you don't violate their terms of service. That's a lame excuse. Kickstarter are where the backers are. Trust me. Not really when it comes to CG. Again, A lot of the shows that he's on, a lot of his backers are CG, and they typically back on Indiegogo and now Fund My Comic as well. Many of these backers wouldn't want to back on Kickstarter, and I think have been cases of folks having their campaigns taken off Kickstarter, even if they haven't violated their terms of service. So I understand why some people don't want to use it. Um, I personally just haven't even really thought of using it right now. So yeah, and he's making so much money as a CG talent, isn't he? He is a brand new creator. Getting $5,000 on one of your first campaigns is really good, and that's really hard in this oversaturated market right now. There are so many comic book creators, and there's also a lot of anti-crowdfunding narratives going around by prominent folks that is not helping crowdfunding or the crowdfunding gold rush, right? And well, pre-COVID and during COVID, a lot of us wish we would have had our books back then. They probably would have funded a lot higher. It just is what it is. But no, he did an awesome job. He's made a profit. He's paid back all of his, he's recouped all of his costs. That's all a small indie creator can ask to do on one of their first campaigns. And he over doubled what he did on his first campaign. So it's about growth, just growing campaign over campaign. And yeah, there are obviously some folks making some killer money and living on Indiegogo. Obviously, Ethan, obviously, Shane, John, and many others. So they're not going to magically do better on Kickstarter, especially if their audience is primarily on Indiegogo. That's why Ethan doesn't want you on Kickstarter because you will make money. No, that makes absolutely no sense at all. He's not trying to prevent people from making money. He has simply said, as well as John and some others, they just won't promote that campaign. They're not saying we won't associate you, right? We're not. They don't play the guilt by association card in this, saying, "Oh, we're not going to support you if you use Kickstarter." It's just no. They are only going to promote campaigns that are not on Kickstarter, and that's fine. It's free will, but they're not trying to prevent you from making money by any means. Patrick could go launch on Kickstarter tomorrow. They wouldn't bat an eye or care. Patrick would just know, hey, I'm not going to ask them to promote the campaign that's on Kickstarter because they have their own preference. They don't want to promote books outside of a couple exceptions on Kickstarter. That's up to them. Eh, Yeah, have fun with that. Drama free. Right. Okay. Well, now that the troll has moved on to other pastures, we have Patrick here. I don't care about the money. You're not dealing with a regular person here. I am driven solely by my ideals. Yep. A lot of us did not get into this to make money. That's a bonus, literally. I had a story that I was just passionate about, that I loved, that got me through a rough time in my life, and I wanted to share it with others. And then I fell in love with the process of bringing those visuals to life through art and working with these awesome comic creators. The fact that I'm making a profit is just a cool bonus. And it's just helping me now make a full comic issue. Maybe it'll eventually mean I can do more than one comic in a year. Or maybe it means I can do a longer or a larger comic. We'll see. But most of us know there's a small chance that you're going to make a living doing this, especially if you didn't start in the mainstream, if you don't have big contacts, big following. We're still here because we're passionate, because we love what we're doing. If it was all about the money and we were greedy, only in it for ourselves, we wouldn't be here. Zombie Boy, can't wait to launch my first comic. I'm hoping to have it done in Q2. Nice. Yeah, it's exciting. Um, it was exciting for me to launch novels. It was nerve wracking because it's hard to crowdfund novels. Not a lot of novel readers. even consider backing campaigns or even know that crowdfunding sites have novels. They're so basically trained to just take advantage of the pricing on Amazon and free shipping and all that that they don't consider it. But I took a leap of faith and said, "Hey, I'm going to merge comics and novels, do something different, so that folks can get a little bit. Well, they can get a lot of novels and a little bit of the comic medium, and see if I can convince comic readers primarily to read novels." I did not expect to do this well, but because of the support of folks like Patrick, Ethan, Shane, and others, um, and them helping me get in front of their audiences, I had a successful campaign. And because of that success, I can now create a comic. Like, there's a reason why I didn't just dive into a first comic issue. A, I didn't want to do a short comic. My story is way too large. Obviously 500 pages of prose to just, I didn't want to just do like a 20-page comic. B, the investment. I needed a lot more money to create my first comic. And it's a lot riskier to go uh, just head first into a big comic with some really amazing artists, right? I didn't want to also limit myself to lower quality, I guess, illustrators, etc., just to get the book out. I did not want to kind of have those cost barriers. So I'm like, I'll start with something smaller with, novels, see if that raises the extra money, put that towards the comic, and during that time, build up an audience, right? Build up a Twitter following, get connected with other creators, get on their shows, so that once you get to the point of doing a comic, you have a big mailing list. You have exposure to all these audiences so that you can make sure you make your money back and hopefully then some. And so I'm very glad I took that route. And, I mean, look at what Patrick did, right? He started off with a smaller campaign. It went well, but then the second time he doubled or tripled it. Why? Because he took that time to build an audience, to build up his YouTube channel, to get to know other folks in the space, and he's just going to keep trying to grow. So, all right, let's see here. Money is nice and amazing when people support you, but the whole point is for me to be able to tell this story. That's my drive. Exactly. Yep. Make money, it's a bonus. If it becomes something bigger than your comic or my novel, that's amazing. You got to put yourself out there, but you want people to experience your passion, your story, and see what happens. Jimmy the Lumberjack, hail BA in chat. Welcome. Thanks for being here. And see, right here. That's what we need. That's what I'm trying to do now that I have time to do a stream. Try to at least promote a couple campaigns, whether it's a large, medium, or small creator, and just help others like they helped me, right? I was fortunate enough for a lot of people to have a lot of people bring me on their channel, right? Bancroft, Joe Sontag, EBS, Shane, Mandy, countless numbers of people um, that supported me. And I was a nobody. I essentially still am a nobody in the grand scheme of things. But because people reached out and offered promotion or responded to my DMs, took the time to promote me, I've now raised funds to be able to create a, what I know is going to be an amazing comic. And I'm going to have an amazing team tied to it. Like, I have so many people to thank. And here's a guy offering that before the person's even had their first comic. That's how we help people out. That's how the community will grow together. Because then maybe Zombie Boy will stream or retweet people, right? It just keep helping everyone grow. Yep. Awesome. All right, Jimmy the Lumberjack. Patrick, back to you yesterday, brother. Can't wait to get both your books. Awesome. Let's see here. Uh, Yeah, Jimmy says, normally I have to read tax code, so your novel was a welcome find in the CG universe. Yeah, I know how you feel. No, that's awesome. Definitely appreciate your support, and I'm glad you've enjoyed my books. Like, it's such a good feeling to get the feedback, from readers, and for them to again experience your passion and your story. And it was so cool. I had two folks today say that, I was one of their top three books of the year in a comic space, for them to choose novels. Like, damn, that's so humbling. That's awesome that they enjoyed my novels that much, amongst the sea of just amazing creators and books in this space. Like, that's what makes it worth it. And I'm just so excited and ready to get a comic in their hand and hopefully impress them that much and more with that. Centric, welcome. ABA in chat. Glad you're here. Patrick, thank you, Jimmy. Hope you enjoy it. Don't be afraid to express any criticism, though. I can only grow and improve from criticism. Yep. All right, BA, I want to do a live stream on my channel about indie novels and comics. If you want to come on, let me know. I'll DM you. Absolutely. Like I said, I will join any stream, no matter the size or exposure. It's just great to talk to other people in the space. And the other thing that's really cool too is, you know, it, just because you get on a big channel does not mean you're just like granted a bunch of funding. Uh, one of the one of the channels that I was, fortunate enough to, be on their stream when I was still in like the first 60 days of the campaign, right? I jumped on there. I was nervous. I didn't pitch it real great, but I maybe got two backers. That was it. Um, so maybe I, raised like $100. I went on another channel that was smaller, only had maybe five live viewers, right? Ended up raising like $300 or $400, right? Somebody picked up the biggest bundle, and it's like that's why you can't, especially as a small creator, you can't turn down really any opportunity to get exposure and get in front of readers, potential backers. But then what was funny is after I went in demand, I went back on that big channel and ended up raising like $600 the next time I was on their channel, right? Maybe I pitched it better. Maybe people were just excited that the book was already done and ready to ship. I don't know. But that's why you also go back on channels, give it another shot. So it was just one of those cool experiences where, again, you can't, I was on Ethan's channel. The first time I was on Ethan's channel, I was in a hotel in Switzerland. Um, and I had horrible lighting. I didn't even have a proper place to stream, but I didn't want to lose the opportunity. I didn't get any backers that night. I didn't really get to even talk that much because I was nervous and all that. Next time, I maybe got one or two backers. They spoke up a little bit more. Third time, maybe got like three backers. And then the next time, I think I raised like $700 in a night, which was amazing. So just because you get on that show doesn't mean you're just gonna like automatically get backers. You've got to be able to present yourself, be able to make yourself interesting to the audience. And Patrick did that the other night. He's a fun guy. He's funny and he's interesting, and he doesn't get nervous. Like, he's also like a showman when it comes to live streaming. I'm still kind of working on that. So, but yeah, it's you just got to keep trying to improve your pitch and just take every chance that you get. And sometimes you'll strike gold, sometimes you won't. And different people are watching at different nights, right? So kind of luck of the draw. Yeah, yeah, definitely. A good camera will help for sure. Cool. Not a big audience, but may get some new eyes in your projects. Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, the grind for funding is definitely a labor of love. Absolutely. And yeah, Jimmy says he found me on EBS's stream when he had that Iron Age night, Kings or Knights stream. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was the night where I got a lot of funding, was able to really push my book, and had a lot of time to pitch it. And obviously, some folks found it interesting. So yeah, But yeah, I guess the other thing I like to do with the stream too is just give people a chance to ask me questions if they want to know more about me or my books or writing process, anything of that nature. So, yeah, if anyone wants to shoot off any questions, feel free, and yeah, can uh, can answer them. So, I don't think I had anything else to share. Nothing that I really want to, I guess, EFAP or anything. I mean, there's so many things that you can, but uh, yeah, yeah, definitely probably not helping me that the Lions are playing right now. But see, this is how dedicated I am and passionate about getting in front of folks, growing my audience, that I'm missing out on the Lions game. I hope they are winning. They should be. So they're playing the 49ers. But yeah, obviously a Lions fan. Ah, Zombie Boy asks, have I played the new Stalker 2 game? Unfortunately, no. I have not touched a video game now in a year and a half. As soon as my kids started walking, there was just absolutely no time to play video games. I mean, when they're like a really small infant, right? They're sleeping all the time, so you can literally play video games during their naps. But once they start moving around and all that, like I had to abandon video games. I do miss them from time to time. I am excited for when my kid gets, a little bit older. We can start playing like old Super Nintendo games and stuff like that. Um, games that I played as a kid. That'll be really fun. But yeah, for me, I've always been the type that like I get super hyper focused on one game, just like I am with a project, right? It was like those novels for like 5, 6 years. Now it's like all comic, and then I'll go all novel once I'm done with the script, for example. And so I played Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. I played hardcore for a good 5, 6 years. And then after that, I tinkered around a little bit with like NBA 2K and stuff because I'm a huge basketball fan. But yeah, no video games for me in the near future, unfortunately. But hey, that's what happens when you become a parent in a lot of cases. All right, Jimmy the Lumberjack. Did anyone take you up on that Excel spreadsheet that you made for cost? Just curious. Yeah, I did. I had a couple people reach out that wanted that example spreadsheet because they wanted to build a like cost breakdown sheet. So, but yeah, anybody that's ever interested in that, definitely will share that with folks. You know, I have, I guess, the luxury in a way of having experience working in big business and dealing with spreadsheets all the time and cost breakdowns to where I was able to do that before my campaign helped me run a proper campaign. But there are a lot of folks that haven't been exposed to that and would love to be able to kind of ease that pain that comes with being a new creator, trying to guesstimate right where you can break even, what cost model you should have, and just knowing some of the basic costs, especially since they fluctuate over time. But definitely want to be able to help people that were in my position, a year and a half, 2 years ago, because there were folks that I reached out to, had conversations with that helped me prepare cost wise, mentality wise for my campaign. And just so grateful for that help. Patrick says Stalker 2 is super good. I like Gamma more currently, but they really did a great job with Stalker 2. Nice. Yeah. Play chase, play hide and seek, play with Thomas the Train, all that stuff. But my kid recently started watching Garfield and Friends, which like it's awesome that it's finally like a show that I loved as a kid that also has like some really good but tasteful like adult humor. So that's been fun just sit and watch that stuff with him. Zombie Boy, my brother got me that game and I can't stop playing it. I only recently managed to peel myself off of it to get some arting done. Nice. So that spreadsheet avoids printing 50,000 more copies than needed. Yes, I would hope that a small creator would avoid such a situation. But I mean, in regards to, let's say, overprinting, that's something that folks need to calculate, right, in terms of determining the best batch size to run, right? Because when you jump from 100 to 200, 200 to 500, 500 to 1,000, right? It can have a pretty decent impact on lowering the cost of of the printing. And so folks definitely need to check the higher batch size prices and take into consideration the hopeful potential of going in demand. I purposely overprinted because I was dead set. I'm going to hit my funding goal. I'm going to go in demand, and I'm going to raise more money in demand, and that happened. Um, I ended up funding 5,000 between the two platforms at the end of the 60 days. I'm now at 13,500. So definitely glad I overprinted so that I could consistently ship, as I got onesie twosies and batches of orders while I was in demand. So that's something that people need to take into consideration is, hey, are you going to continue to sell in demand or try to? Are you confident that you can continue to sell and grow and while you're in demand? And also, are you going to do any conventions? Are you going to do any local book events? Stuff like that. Because obviously, the less print runs you do, the better pricing that you'll get and all of that. But you don't want to overprint by a massive amount if you're not confident you're going to sell it, because then you're stuck with dead stock. And if you ever move, you got to worry about damaging them and all that. So yeah, definitely take that stuff into consideration. So yeah, I think I'll probably end it here. I appreciate everyone joining. I apologize for the internet issues. Hopefully this won't be an issue next week. Um, yeah, this is planned to be once a week, usually on Tuesday, but tomorrow's New Year's Eve. I know there'll be some bigger streams streaming then, and then obviously people will be hanging out with family. That's what I'll be doing. So yeah, hopefully this will be every Tuesday. I may do an extra stream here or there. Now that I'm starting to get more comfortable with this and all, I hope to do a panel promotion stream once a month. So maybe in a week or two, I'll do that. Try to come up with something fun and just try to incentivize and push folks to push campaigns. But I've already had, a handful of um, books get some backers just from these couple streams, which is awesome. I love that feeling. I want more of that. I hope the three campaigns I promoted today and Blood and Sword and all that get some backers from this. Then Jimmy had another question: have CG creators shared which print shops they use, so they can try to consolidate power for continuous work? Um, I have had folks give me suggestions, recommendations for print shops, but there's really, I guess, no effort yet to try to, I guess, bundle negotiations or anything like that, because that's really hard to do. You're not going to really be able to get any buying power when it comes to like pulp or paper stock, things like that. It comes down to the individual batch runs. That's also why minimizing the number of covers that you do can be beneficial as well. But some people like to do multiple covers. I did as well. But I had a small mini comic, so there wasn't much of a cost impact on doing that. But um, even when it comes to doing art prints, trading cards, you really need to make sure you check the pricing of bigger batches, trading cards, for example, and posters. Like to print, let's say 50 was the same total price as it was to print like 200. And a lot of people will just be like, oh, I'm just gonna get the price for 50 and I'm just gonna print it, right? Not knowing that a lot of that cost is the setup cost. It's the labor, it's the time, not the actual material and the actual printing. It's the setup cost. So you could end up getting essentially 150 or a X amount of free prints or trading cards, etc., just because you checked the price and you're like, oh, well, of course, if I can print 50 at this price, or I can print 100 or 200 at the same price of or total cost, I'm going to print the bigger amount because then you have extras. So, but that's just something that comes with, experience and time. So, but yeah, thank you guys for joining. Expect some trollish clips to come out in probably the next couple days of people twisting things I said out of context, but that's why I have the entire stream. I can clip if I need as well to show the general audience what was actually said and you know the intention behind what was said. But it's so funny that there are people that I mean, I'm a really small creator and I have hate watchers and trolls. Like they literally have nothing better to do but jump from stream to stream of people they don't like to try to make clips and make me lose backers essentially, right? To try to make me lose support. It's just silly, all because I join streams with folks that they don't like. They want me to purposely neuter my exposure, neuter my ability to get in front of a broader audience just because they don't like said bigger creator. That's nonsense. Get out there, get in front of as many people as you can. That's what being indie is all about. That's how we're going to have successful campaigns, by doing that, by promoting others and lifting each other up. So, thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate your support. Um, and I appreciate you guys being here for me. And yeah, everyone have a happy New Year's. Enjoy New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Hopefully, folks have time off of work. And hail jabronis. God bless. Take care.